I have a couple.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously you balled out last season in your freshman year. How have you prepared yourself for this season in order to repeat or improve on last year? And is there any added pressure to that?
I think that for me, the main thing that comes to mind is what we talk about as a team is being disciplined, being our best self for the team. Something we've talked about a lot this season is we can only shine as bright as we possibly can if we're running our brightest ourselves. And so as a team, we've kind of come together and pushed each other and banded together. And so for me, that looks like, if I need to put in extra work, that's what I'm going to do for my team's sake, not necessarily for me. Because when I think about it as a team thing rather than a me thing, it actually relieves the pressure for me personally.
And moving on to the new coaching position, obviously with Coach Baldwin, how has your experience been transitioning from playing for one head coach your first year and then playing for a new one in your second? Is there anything different about this year compared to last year?
For me, I think the switch was a little bit easier than most people because we knew Coach Tony and I've been with him for a year. It stunk to lose Coach Lou because we all loved her so much. And, she has things that Coach Tony doesn't. Coach Tony has things that Coach Lou doesn't, and they complement each other so well in that way. But Coach Tony's really embodied his role as the head coach, and we've loved to have him. We call him our Papa T. He loves us. He puts us first in every aspect, and he wants what's best for us. So it's just kind of been an honor to get to be under his leadership as the head coach.
Thank you, Sydney.
You're welcome.
I got a couple questions. What's the biggest thing you learned from last year that you think will help you this year?
I think the biggest thing I learned last year from this year is just really not taking anything to heart in the sense of if something happens, being really quick to shake it off. Like we talked about this year is staying neutral is a good way to put it, of just letting the highs be a high and the lows be a lows, but getting right back to neutral. So that we can continue moving forward instead of focusing too much on the high or too much on the low, and that kind of getting you in a bad situation. And so I think that that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned.
If you were to describe your style of a player that you are to someone that's going to see you play this year, how would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as, what's the word I'm looking for? Probably, I feel like I shock a lot of people sometimes, but I would also just say I'm very passionate with how I play the game.
Hey, I also had a couple of questions. First, just obviously coming off a remarkable run last year, what do you think sets this team apart from last year's team?
I think that this year's team is special because a lot of us were together last year. And so to have that chemistry that we had in the spring carry over into the fall has been really cool to see. Because of last year's fall and it being COVID and really heavy in COVID, this year we really focused on being intentional with one another and building relationships that therefore make us thrive on and off the field, so we can have this new level of trust that we didn't have last spring. And so growing that, banding together, that fight together, and having each other's back, I think we've really grown as a team in our chemistry, and it makes everything that much easier to know that my teammate has my back, and we know each other really well and we connect on that level. So I think for us, it's the fact that we've been through it before and we're going to continue to be with each other.
And just one more, what has Coach Baldwin really stressed his team in preparation for your season opener?
I think the thing that we talk about a lot is just staying neutral, doing simple best and letting that be enough. Just trusting ourselves, staying within ourselves, and allowing what we do to come out by just being neutral and working for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sydney, what are the biggest differences in how you're feeling right now with games a week away versus this a week away from last season? Is it very different?
Yeah, I would say it's a lot different. Last year I would probably be like freaking out, because I've never stepped on the Georgia softball field in a game setting. It had just been practice, inter-squad scrimmages. But in last year, stepping on the field, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm wearing a G on my chest. Like I have teammates behind me. Like this is my dream coming true. So now there's still those nerves, but I would say it's in a different way. I'm more excited to step back out on the field and fight for what we stand for and fight for the G. And it's a lot easier to navigate those thoughts and critique those thoughts and kind of rein myself back in. Whereas last year, it was easy just to get so caught up in the moment. So I think that I'm thrilled to step on the field with my teammates and just get after it and show up and show out. You're welcome.
What's it like being coached by Coach JT and then also Alyssa DiCarlo, part of the staff as well?
So JT is amazing. He actually doesn't let me call him coach. If I call him Coach JT, he calls me Player Sydney. So that's been hard to adjust being, a Southern raised kid. But JT has a lot of energy. He's very encouraging, and his coaching style is different than what I'm used to growing up. Everything is a kind of a experiment in the sense of, we learn and we try new things. And if we fail, like it's okay because we learn from that failure, and he really emphasizes that. And I think that the way he coaches is something that I really receive well from, and I can learn quickly from. He really focuses on teaching to everyone's way of learning. And it's hilarious the lengths he goes to. It's awesome. And then having Alyssa come back, I actually joked with my dad when the whole, hiring process is going on, you and your dad are speculating on the couch. I'm like, Dad, like, can you imagine if they brought back like Alyssa DiCarlo? Because, every Georgia player, we have the utmost respect for her. And I was like, sure enough, she got hired, and I was like, Dad, like I get to be coached by like a Georgia player that's like a GOAT, like that's so cool. So it's been really awesome just to have, Chelsea and Alyssa who have been in our shoes and know what we're going through and learn from what they have learned in the past, but also maybe things that they didn't have the potential to experience or the potential to learn, like learning that with them. So it's just been a really like honoring relationship to have two former players invest into us and give back to a program that they also invested so much into.
Of the new faces player wise, who stood out to you, and you were on those shoes,
Mm-hmm.
A year ago, who has stood out, and what kind of advice have you given them?
I think every single one of them have done an incredible job. They all have their things that make them unique and special to this team. So each individually, they contribute something that the other cannot. The biggest message that I gave them probably coming into freshman year was like to settle into who they are, because that's why they're here in the first place. And that's what we need. And so we've just really been encouraging them to embrace the moments, embrace each other, because as freshmen, we can get caught up in our own little bubble, but like to allow us to like welcome them and love on them and encourage them has been really fun to see them come into their own and express their personalities. And just having new teammates has always been a fun thing for me. So each and every one of the freshmen have, blow past my expectations, and I can't wait to see what they do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one more actually. Going back to what you said about the differences between Coach Lou and Coach Baldwin. What specific things are different with his coaching style and with her coaching style? Is there anything that you like better? Is there anything that like makes like practices go better or like make you feel more confident about your ability and about this season?
I think Coach Baldwin and Coach Lou have very similar things. They just approach it very differently. I think that Coach Lou had a way of handling things and Coach Baldwin has a way of handling, but both they complement each other. So either way, I think I received just the same amount under the both of them. And I have loved having both of them coach me. I don't think it's ever been a one or the other,
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And any other questions for Sydney?